Cloud computing is when someone provides computer resources over a network. Typically, we talk about this when the resources are provided over the internet. However, these resources can be provided over a private network. And they can provide many types of resources such as applications, network, websites, database servers, specialized developer applications, virtual desktops, and many other resources. When most people think of the cloud, they think about the public cloud in which the resources are provided over the internet to the general public. However, when we have private clouds where the resources are contained within a single organization for its use by its employees and customers, it is still a cloud. There are also community clouds in which two or more organizations set up and share a cloud environment. A community cloud is only usable by these organizations, is not made available to the public. And finally, there are hybrid clouds where organizations combine the resources from the public cloud over the internet with their private or community clouds to be used by an organization or several organizations. All cloud computing service models incorporate some of the following elements, right? Service at any time. Elastic service means that it could be scaled up or scaled down, right? And they have storage, support for multiple client platforms, so you can do Linux, Windows, possibly even Mac, and resource pooling and consolidation. So that you can share and take advantage of hardware. So you pool your hardware, and so certain virtual machines use the hardware at certain times and others give it back, and so you can pool and you don't have to have as much hardware by this pooling and consolidation. And then it's usually a measured service, especially if you're talking about the public cloud. It's by hours or minutes, that you're using the actual machines. So we have different models of cloud. So we have infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, and it is where the physical hardware is rented, server, storage, network, right? But the provider of the infrastructure just maintains the infrastructure. It's up for the customer that rents the infrastructure to provide and maintain the operating system and applications. The next level is platform as a service, or PASS, or PaaS, and it's where the physical hardware, operating systems, and some applications are provided by the hosting company, and they maintain the hardware and operating systems and possibly some applications. However, the users of the cloud still may install and support other applications. Software as a service, or SaaS, is where everything, including the application, is maintained by the hosting company, and the user just uses the software the cloud provider just uses the software the cloud provider provides. The cloud provider maintains the hardware, operating systems, and applications. They provide everything and maintain everything. Finally, we have a general term called anything as a service, or XaaS, where X represents a future unknown resource or model. And here, this just shows the responsibility for support and how it is contained in the various models. Traditionally, an organization is responsible for supporting all hardware, operating systems, and applications located within their physical network. Whereas if they rent infrastructure as a service, the cloud provider provides and maintains the hardware and possibly some basic features, functions for an operating system. Whereas with a platform as a service, the cloud provider will maintain all the hardware and the full operating systems. Finally, within a software as a service, the cloud provider provides and maintains everything from hardware to applications. Application virtualization is where an application is made available to users by using a server, and the application does not need to be installed on the user's computer. They can run it from the server. Two options for application virtualization are cloud-based applications. Software resides on the server in the cloud, and the user just accesses software through a browser. You could think of email, from Gmail, just like that. And Office 365 can be run like that. But then you could also have application streaming, which is a cross between cloud-based applications and installed applications. So part of the applications are actually downloaded and installed on the local device, but only when needed. And other parts of the application continue to run from a server out on the internet or on a private cloud, private network. Here is an example of application virtualization where you can use the application and try it without actually installing the application. So they virtualized it enough to where it will run to where you can try it without installing the application. Alright, so VDI, or Virtual Desktop Infrastructure, is when a virtual desktop is presented to a client computer from a hypervisor running on a server. So you have thick and thin clients that will run VDI environments or virtual desktops. A thick client, also known as a fat client, are just regular desktop or laptop computers. They have hard drives and operating systems, but access a virtual desktop infrastructure to use the virtual computer and that runs off the server. Thin clients are computers with regular operating systems but have very little computing power. They're very cost efficient, and the organization knows that they're going to be running the actual machine on a server in a VDI environment. So they buy these, thin clients, but yet they still have some ability to do something locally, because there's some need to do some things locally. Whereas finally you have a zero client, sometimes called a dumb terminal. They don't have operating systems. They just provide a keyboard, mouse, and monitor, and they connect to the VDI environment, which is providing the desktop over the network. And so they're much cheaper. They don't have hard drives. They don't have operating systems. They just connect to the network, and you get the display of the virtual desktop over the network. And there are two approaches to VDI, or virtual desktop infrastructure. The user can make and save changes as a virtual machine is called persistent, right? So you can actually save files and save your desktop, change the desktop, and the changes are saved. The other option, the user can make changes, but they're not saved. Everything is revert back to the default setting every time they connect. It's considered non-persistent. This does include any files stored on the system, so users need to store the files on other network locations if they need to keep them, as soon as they check the desktop back in or close the desktop, any files and any changes will be deleted and it'll be reverted back. Both have their usage. Non-persistent, you just have to teach your users to store things on the network and not on the desktop. Whereas, if it is persistent and they can make changes, then you have to worry about storage on all your desktops and backing up and things like that. Whereas backups in the non-persistent environment are easier because everything gets stored on servers and it's a centralized location, and you have to just back up that versus trying to back up all the virtual desktops. which is much harder. And here's a graphic depicting the various clients that one may use within a VDI virtual desktop environment. There are others too. That they don't have the thin client. They have the zero client. They have the fat clients, the laptops. I guess a tablet or smartphone could be considered a thin client. But that is our cloud computing. Our next section will cover printers.